from milk to hard cheese in about an hour. Hi guys, I'm going to make a different kind of cheese today than I did the last time. About 2 weeks ago I put out a video how to make like a farmer type cheese without rennet in about 10 minutes. Incredible stuff. If you haven't yet, check it out. You can easily make your own cheese. Today though, I'm going to be making a more traditional cheese, something that most people think of as cheese. It tastes more like the stuff you'd buy at the store, not aged because it doesn't last that long in our house, but I will show you that it also is quite easy. And you can actually buy rennet, which is one of the key ingredients in hard cheese, at your local grocery store. I'll show you how to do it. Alright, I'm going to start out with a stock pot, about 3 gallons, I think, approximately. So I'm going to start out with 3 gallons of 3 to 4 day old milk. And I've heard and I've read in old books that the ideal way is to take yesterday's milk, say you have 2 gallons of yesterday's milk, fresh from a cow, you leave it out on the counter at room temperature overnight, and then you add to that 2 or 3 more gallons of this morning's fresh milk. And that generally gives the right amount of acid that you want to make cheese, but I think this will work out just fine. I just put in whole milk. It has a ton of cream in it, so it's going to make a really tasty cheese. You don't have to use whole milk. You can use skim if you'd like, or any other range in between. Ours is fresh from the cow. We haven't taken any of the cream off yet, so it's whole. Alright, the next thing to do is simply to turn on your stove and heat up your milk. The target temperature is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. I just go by feel though. I try to get it so that it feels a little bit warm to the touch. So I put my lower arm or wrist into it to see if it should be about body temperature. Alright, I've turned it on high, and because I've done that, I really need to pay attention to stirring. I've got to stir it constantly, or else it will burn. And boy, when it burns, it is no good. You don't have to do it on high, but this makes it go pretty fast. It usually takes me about 3 to 5 minutes to heat up the milk to the proper temperature. This has been refrigerated, so it's going to take a little bit longer than if the milk had just been out, like the old Pioneer method. Well, that's not very long, 5 minutes or so. Alright, I've tested with my fingers the temperature of the milk. It actually got a little bit too warm. It's probably up around 95 degrees. But I can just add a little bit of cold milk straight from the fridge to it to quickly lower the temperature. Just going to add maybe 2 cups. Okay, so the next thing is the secret ingredient. It's rennet, and this one is the easiest one to find. It's sold under the name junket, usually used in making old-time custard and ice creams and things like that. You'll find it in the Jell-O and pudding mix section of your grocery store. And at our store it's usually way up high on the top shelf. You'd never really see it unless you're looking for it. But it's not very expensive, maybe $2.50, maybe $3 for this whole package with 8 tablets in it. And for this much milk, for 3.5 gallons, we only need 2 tablets. Or I use 2 tablets. That you can actually get away with a little bit less, but I use 2 tablets. It goes a little bit quicker.
Everett, do you want to do it?
Comes in these little foil wrappers, just like prescription medications sometimes do. Just open them up, and they're basically basically what these are is salt with some of the enzyme, with some of the rennet enzyme mixed into it. So it's mostly just salt. So you drop it in some cool water, both of them, and if you want them to dissolve quicker, you can crush them up. But they go pretty quick. It takes a couple minutes maybe. Okay, we'll just wait for those to dissolve for a couple minutes, and we'll pour it in the milk after that. Alright, if you ever get lost, this actually comes with instructions. For all kinds of things. From custard to ice cream to mozzarella, and then basic hard cheese is essentially what we're doing here. Complicated instructions, but they are accurate too. So if you like instructions and you like following something to the T, to the letter, then you'll enjoy the fact that this comes with instructions. Okay.
Are you stirring the rennet?
Good job, Emmy.
Yep, that's the cheese.
Okay, so the rennet is dissolved completely. You don't want any pieces of salt in the bottom or anything. And all I do is, as I'm whisking, I slowly pour it in. And if I was using completely fresh, I mean really fresh, day-old milk, you know, like from this morning, then this is the point at which I would want to also add some acid in whatever form. You know, vinegar or lemon juice or citric acid powder. But since this is a few days old, it already has developed a little bit of acid, and just from tasting it, I can tell that it's about right. So that's kind of it for now. Now all I have to do is cover it, and I have to find a lid. So I'll do that. Couldn't find the actual lid, so I'm just going to use our pizza peel. And this is just to keep it warm. Now we have discovered that the slightest draft, if it's a continual draft, will really have a bad effect on the cheese. You need to keep it warm and incubated. So it basically needs to stay that temperature for as long as possible. So we discovered that if we cover up the whole thing with a coat or a towel or a blanket.
Just tuck it into bed.
Just tuck it in, yep. Get it all cozy. And we'll come back and check it in about half an hour. It'll probably take longer than that, but we'll check it soon. Okay, it's been a little while, probably a little longer than I should have waited, because kids needed my help. But I don't know if you can see that there, how it's separating. So what I'm looking for is that totally clear liquid. If it's looking like milk at all, then it's not ready. But that clear liquid, that whey, is an indicator that it's ready to go. So let me attempt to hold the camera with one hand while I slice through it with the other hand. And this is what I'm doing is cutting it. Yeah, I've definitely waited too long. But that's okay. Part of this skin on top is just the cream, the butter fat that's come up to the top. So what I do is I am varying my angle. You see I'm making it a little steeper of an angle here as I go along. I started out straight up and down here, and then I'm going more like this as I go over here. And it'll make more sense in a minute why I'm doing that. So now that I've done that, I'm going to do just the opposite. So I'm going to go straight down on this side and then angled like that. So I'm, in essence, cutting long strips from top to bottom, even though you can't see them there. I'm trying to cut on the same lines, but with that layer of cream on top, it's a little bit hard to see. So I think an hour to maybe an hour and a half would have been good, and I waited almost 2 hours. So this curd is going to be a little bit drier than I want it to be, but we'll experiment. The great thing about making cheese is you always get some kind of cheese from it. I mean, it's always going to be edible, Won't always be delicious, but it'll at least be food. Sometimes, you know, if you get too much acid in there or too high a heat is usually the problem that I face, or the mistake that I keep on making, which makes a really dry curd. And waiting too long can have a similar effect, but I hope it's not too bad. It's still nice and warm. It is yummy though. The next step is to turn on the heat again. This time, I think I'll go a little lower. And just stir it. I want to kind of be gentle with it so as to not break up the curd. I'll just heat it up to 100 degrees or so would be alright. 98 to 100. And I want to slowly heat it up to that temperature. Seems like 2 out of 3 times that I make cheese I let it go too long. But it's still fun. And even if it turns out absolutely terrible, if I do something really wrong, then at least the chickens and the pig can really benefit from it. But it's pretty rare that it's that terrible. So I'll do this for a little while, and whether I get something good or bad, I'll turn on the camera again and show you what I get. Alright, so that was actually a lot quicker than I expected it to be. It didn't take long to heat it up another, 5 or 10 degrees. And look at this. It looks like popcorn. So it's kind of a lot like mozzarella, I'd say, at this point. Mozzarella is technically not really what we were going for, but that's sort of what it looks like now. Now, no matter how long you cook it, or no matter what you do to it, it will never ever turn orange. Yellow or orange cheese only comes from yellow or orange food coloring. Okay, so I think I've got most of it, most of the curds out of there. I'll just feed that way to the pig. So I'd say that the heat is the biggest factor in how much moisture you get in your cheese. If you really are careful not to get your heat too high when you're setting the curd, which is after I cut the curd, I set it so that it doesn't continue to develop and change. But once you set that curd, if your final temperature is not very high, then you'll get a very, very soft cheese and very moist and chewy. And higher heat will get a slightly drier cheese. And I think we're somewhere in between on this particular batch. So I'm just salting it. I'm kind of just guessing, although it's remarkable how much salt it takes. I'll probably have to resalt this 2 or 3 times as I go at that rate. As it cools down, it's constantly losing a little bit of moisture. But I don't want to press the curds together too much until I've mixed the salt in, because it's really hard to break apart. Oh, there you go. See, it's already turning into a big block of cheese, because these are kind of warm still. I know already that it needs more salt. But ideally you want to break them up, salt them, get all the salt mixed in, and then reform it into a block while it's still warm. And it's kind of a fast process because it does cool off pretty quickly. And by that time, you're not going to have much of a chance to squeeze it together and have it form into a solid block. The next step in making cheese would be to press all these together in a cheese press, and someday we'll make one of those. But right now we don't really have an issue with it, because this cheese gets eaten so quickly. Sorry, my mouth is full. But this gets eaten so quickly in our family that we don't... I mean, this will only last a day or two. And so we just keep it in curd form like this, and it's already quite firm. It's cooling down really quickly. We like to microwave it for a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds I guess. And it just gets kind of squishy, and when you bite it, it kind of squeaks in your teeth. Oh, it's amazing. It's a little dry, right? Just a tiny bit?
Yeah.
But it still has good body, good texture. It's nice and firm. It'll melt really well. So even though I spent 2 hours doing it, it should have been shorter, and it would have worked a little bit better. So an hour of sitting under that cover. resting and incubating. Would have been ideal, I think. That is done. So I'm gonna go microwave a few pieces of this and see how the kids like it. Alright, we've microwaved this for about a minute because it's a big bowl full. Ooh.
That's awesome.
It's the stretchiest cheese I've ever seen. It's like taffy. Boy, it's good. It's stretchy. Look at that. Incredible. Emmy's waiting for some. Yeah. Okay, Everett. Yummy. Thanks for joining us. Please ask questions if you have any. Comment on how good we make cheese, on how bad we make cheese, whatever you want. Doesn't matter, we make cheese. Thanks for joining us. We'll see ya.